I'm afraid to touch it.
That's a good 5,000 times.
All right. I'm going to go with it. If you can figure it out.
Yeah, you're on there.
Welcome. Are we good?
Yep.
Am I skinny or fat?
He won't answer that, but I will.
All right. Welcome to our Wednesday night Bible study. We're continuing in the book of John. Thanks to everybody who prayed for me last week. I really needed it all week. Hey, Mike. Good. And we are in John chapter 1 and verses 37 to 39. And so John is standing with his two of his disciples. He looks at Yeshua. As he walked, he said, "Behold, the Lamb of God." And so the two disciples heard him speak in verse 37 through 39. And they followed Yeshua. And Yeshua turned and saw them following and said to them, "What do you seek?" And I ask you to look that up and come up with an explanation. What kind of a question was that? They go on to say, they said to him, "Rabbi," which translated means teacher, "where are you staying?" He said to them, "Come and you will see." He said to them, "Come and you will see." Yeah. So they came and they saw where he was staying, and they stayed with him that day, and it was about the 9th hour. Okay. So from like 4:00, just before the Sabbath begins. So tell me about this little portion. Everybody did their homework. I know that.
I did the wrong homework.
You did what?
I did the wrong homework.
The wrong homework?
Yes, I did the part about the 7 types of Pharisees in the churches.
Oh, well, now you know it.
Yeah.
Anybody
No real correlation.
with a comment?
I guess I didn't research it, I just do it my own way. I just think that it's a question to any of us. What do you seek? Are you seeking something from God? Are you seeking a teacher, a normal teacher? Are you actually searching to worship God? What are you seeking? Are you seeking to come to the Most High God? Are you seeking, of course, at that point you can say, hey, they didn't know that he was who he was.
Okay.
But when Jesus says, what do you seek? I mean, that's a general question to anybody in this room.
Okay. If I tell you that this is an infinitive, to seek, and redo the question, what do you wish to seek? That might help us a little bit. I mean, it's not that you're wrong.
You hear it in his preaching all the time. It's like when they Paul and everyone that say, seek the things that lead to the kingdom, that point to the kingdom, twice the earthly things. That's how I take that.
Seek the things above.
Things the stuff above from heaven, not of this earth.
So
and that was one of the things that I said, I was reading that where he said, "What do you seek?" Where he was asking them, wanting to make sure it was the Messiah he was seeking, and not just seeking
Then they answered him
directions.
with a question. That's why it was like a deflection to me. Something doesn't make sense there. Because that wasn't an answer. It was, they asked him a question. I don't get that. Yeah, like, where are you staying? He asked them a question, then they asked him a question, where are you staying? They never answered the question.
Well, I think one of the things like I saw where it said, "Where are you staying?" was a thing where we got a lot more to discuss than something we just want to talk about right here is talking to you.
So, yeah.
I have, what do you want?
That's what I have.
Keep in mind, in the culture of today, everybody was seeking
Something.
a teacher and teaching. Like the rich young ruler, basically his question is what? What's the one thing? Okay? Everybody wants to boil it down to the one thing. Just tell me one thing. Like, just get to the point. Tell me one thing. Right? So Yeshua tells them 2 things. And the guy says, "Well, I've done all of these things." And he said, "Great. Just one thing you're lacking. Go give your money to the poor," and so forth. Oh, well, that's a different story. Okay, love your neighbor as yourself. I can love them, but not with all my money. I just it's too much, you know. So what was he seeking? Everybody is seeking a teacher. In the temple, Josephus writes about it, and the Talmud writes about it, that every rabbi, and there are many, many rabbis, and had their little group, sometimes of 5 or 10 people sitting around, and that was their teacher, their authoritative teacher. And then another group had their authoritative teacher. So who are you seeking? Are you seeking a teacher that will teach you something different, something that you're not satisfied with what you have now, so you want me to give you that one thing that'll, put it in order? In other words, what is the motivations? And they actually answered by saying, teacher. And this particular Greek word means teacher, and it's synonymous with rabbi. Okay? It's synonymous with rabbi. And so they're saying, we already know you're the teacher for us. You are the rabbi. Okay? Where are you staying, i.e. for Shabbat? Because this was the Shabbat. Where are you staying for Shabbat? We want to, in Shabbat hospitality, we want you to come with us. And Yeshua immediately responds, come and you will see. All right. And so they do. They came and saw where he was staying, and they stayed with him that day. All right. This is called Shomer Shabbat, or in Yiddish, Shomer Shabbos. Shomer Shabbos is to show hospitality to an extreme on Shabbat. Okay. So they were practicing Shomer Shabbos, or Shomer Shabbat. Right. And what they wanted was and Bob pegged it, we need more time. We have questions. We have things that we have heard, the Lamb of God. We don't know what it means. What does it mean? We've heard that you're before John. How can you be before John? Your cousins and you were born after him. That's the story we've heard, right? You were with the Word, you were with God, and you were God. You are God. What does that mean? So what they're seeking is a deeper level of connection than just, gee, I really like your study. I really like to see the Israeli dancing. I like that. I like the PowerPoint presentations you guys put on. Okay. Instead of, no, I really like a depth of relationship that's being taught and practiced in this fellowship. Shalom, hi. First time?
Welcome.
What's your name? What is it? Joshua. You have a brother named Joshua? Anyway, we are in John chapter 1, verses 35 to 37. I gave him some homework last time. And so we're determining what it is. What does it mean? Yeshua is asking him, what do you seek? And since it's in the infinitive, to seek, it's not the normal lingo. So it's like, what do you wish to seek?
Is it not normal for us, but it is normal for them at
No,
that point in time?
It was normal for them at that
Okay.
point in time. For us, I hope we know what we're seeking. We're seeking a deep level of understanding the scriptures that tag into the deep level of understanding of who Yeshua is. So we're not studying to know things, we're studying to know him.
Yeah, right.
That's our goal.
Boomba.
Okay, Boomba. Is that a Hispanic thing?
Portuguese.
Portuguese.
Yeah, my friend
Boomba.
Elisa says it all the time. Boomba.
Boomba. Boomba, ladies and gentlemen. It's part of the official Messianic lingo as of today. So, what are you seeking? 10th hour, about 4 o'clock, and he's going to stay overnight as would be normal. One of the two who heard John speak, verse 40. Now you see what's happening. He's starting to gather disciples. And one of the requirements is the disciple needs to be seeking at this kind of level. Okay. Now you might say, well, what about Judas? Aha. Judas was seeking at a very deep level. I know that might seem strange to you,
Yeah.
but Judas, yeah,
Would you say seek to
very deep level. Judas was a one of the assassins, one of the Sicarii.
Yeah.
And these guys assassinated significant people in order to disrupt the Roman government and military. And they were really good at it. Barabbas was one of these guys. And Judas believed that Yeshua was the Messiah. But Judas believed it as a zealot. That's why he's called Zelotes. He was a zealot who believed in nationalism and that the Romans needed to, at all costs, even to the cost of your life, be ousted. And so if we need to rob and pillage and disrupt, we will do anything. We are justified to get our country back. And so his thought was to monitor Yeshua in hopes that Yeshua would get rid of the Romans, and so the Jews would have their land back. Okay, now he was a scoundrel. There's no question about it. He was a crook. He was a thief and a liar. All these things. But you notice what happens. He schemes at the end to force Yeshua's hand. Why? Because he wanted Yeshua to bring down the armies of heaven and obliterate incite a revolution. It was Passover, after all. That was the best time for revolutions, right? At holidays, and especially Passover, because that was the festival, all right? So even Judas was seeking Yeshua at a deep level in the wrong way, but at a very deep level. So every disciple sought Yeshua at this kind of a level. That's the requirement. A disciple is one who is taught by the rabbi and receives the teaching and then teaches that, lives that. That's what a Talmud is, what a disciple is. So one of the two who heard John speak and followed him was Andrew, Simon Peter's brother. Not a whole lot is said about Andrew in the scripture, but he's always finding the impossible. He finds his brother, brings him to Yeshua. He finds the loaf and fishes, like, this is all we have, but I'm bringing them to you. Nobody else was doing it.
Yeah.
He did it intentionally, right? Because he knew what he could do.
Well, Andrew was a guy, he sought to further, I wouldn't say the kingdom, but further Yeshua's ministry. Look, Yeshua had to feed all these people, he thought. Well, I've done my part. I found the loaves and fishes. Okay, hopefully everybody will do their part. We can add everything together. He had no idea what was going to happen. Okay, but he's that kind of guy. Like he's going to follow the rabbi. I don't really quite get it. But here's some loaves of, hey, here's my brother. Peter, right? He finds his own brother, Simon Peter. And he said to him, we have found the Messiah, which is translated the Christ. So Andrew's testimony was enough to bring Simon Peter to Yeshua. Now, keep in mind, Simon Peter's not a dummy, and he's not an impetuous dope either. Okay, not a big clumsy giant. This guy is a fish wholesaler. He's got a fleet of boats. He's got one of the biggest houses probably in all of Israel outside of royalty that you can build. Huge house, okay, if that in fact is Peter's house in Capernaum. All right, so this guy knows money. He knows the organization. He has some inkling in terms of scripture, right? Because wealthy guys hired people to teach them. He didn't go to seminary or anything like that, to a yeshiva, right? But he had people brought in to teach him.
Because he had to be so busy, it's hard to, right?
Yeah, but even probably, if his family was into fisheries and boat fleets, then probably they hired somebody to come in and teach him. Okay, so this is a guy that's really a leader, a strong leader. So he does it. Yeshua accepts him, and notice what he calls him. Kepha. Okay, so the nickname is Kepha, which actually means Rocky. Right, Rocky. Rock, but Rocky. It's like a nickname. Tough. Okay, tough.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so good name. right? So you're going to be known. You're going to be known as the toughie. You're going to be a leader. You're going to move this thing forward, right? And we know his. Nobody else got out of the boat.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We always tried Peter for getting out of the boat, impetuous. I don't see it that way at all. He saw Yeshua just running to the master.
Yeah.
Okay,
Mhm.
and okay, he chopped off somebody's ear. No, I'm not. That's not impetuous. That's I will not let you take the Messiah.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
if I have to die,
That's.
okay, that's not impetuous. That's like you want to see what I'm going to do.
Mhm.
Go ahead and try to take us.
He's ready.
Then Yeshua gives you.
That's defense.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Get one in the chamber. All right. So, all right. So now the next day,
Semper Fidelis, yeah, okay.
the next day he purposed to go into Galilee. Now, think about this. The Judeans never liked it when Yeshua ministered to Galilee because the Judeans and the Galileans were of a different breed, a completely different breed. If you go into Judea, it's desert, it's rock, it's hard, it's lack of water, it's stark. And the people tended in the first century and before that to be the same way. Dry, stark, black and white, strict adherence of things, condemning of one another if they didn't do things just right. Galilee, if you go to Galilee, it's plush, it's hills. They're alive with the sound of music, and it's beautiful. And the Galilean Jews are a little more relaxed, laid back. They're not so. They have a relationship with God. It's not so. It may not be so precise as the Judeans. And so the Judeans curse the Galileans, and the Galileans curse the Judeans. So here, the next day, he
It's like
purposes.
Brooklyn and the Bronx.
It's always the Bronx's fault, I know.
Well, there's reason for that.
It could be a fist fight.
It's like that, but different. Let's go.
So he goes into Galilee and he finds Philip. And Yeshua said to him, "Follow me." Now, Philip was from Bethsaida of the city of Andrew and Peter. So they must have already been talking. Nobody has somebody come to them and say, "Follow me," and just, okay. Oh, wait a minute. I have a family. I have a job. They must have been talking, okay? So he follows him. Now, Philip was from Bethsaida, the city of Andrew and Peter. Philip found Nathanael and said to him, "We have found him of whom Moses in the law and also the prophets wrote, Yeshua of Nazareth, the son of Joseph." And some believe that Nathanael was Bartholomew, and some believe that he was Matthew, because his Bartholomew equals Bar Tolmai, the son of Tolmai, and Nathanael Bar Tolmai would be parallel to Simon Bar Jonah. So to me, it's all made up. Nobody quite knows. It's some suspicions, and it's not that important actually. Okay, so we don't know. Nathanael obviously was a scholar, right? And so what happens? He's a student of the Torah, of the Pentateuch, because that's what Philip is saying. We found him whom the scripture predicted. That's not stark. He must have known the scriptures to know that he fulfilled them, right? So Philip's no dummy either. So now Nathanael said to him, now mind you, Philip hasn't said one thing about Nazareth. Okay? He hasn't said anything about Nazareth. But Nathanael's response is, can any good thing come out of Nazareth? How did he know he was in Nazareth?
You heard about him.
Of course he heard about him.
Complete Jewish says he told him he was. No, it says right here, it says we found, it's
The one that we wrote on.
Yeshua ben Yosef from Nazareth. Nathanael answered him, Nazareth.
Oh, you're right. Well, that teaching
That's
has to go out that's a teaching has to go out the window. All right. Now,
Sorry.
I know I wanted to say something different. See, you get older. All right. what I wanted to say is, what was the point of Nathanael saying, can any good thing come out of Nazareth? Because Nazareth was a town that was despised. Now, clearly, he wasn't born in Nazareth, but he was raised in Nazareth. And the question is, what's so bad about Nazareth? Well, Nazareth was a little nothing town, which it still is. And it's like, I don't know, it's like saying,
Brooklyn.
Uh-oh. Touche. Touche, Hector.
it's tense here, folks. I mean, really, you should come.
It's lively.
You can't get the whole thing just being there by your computer. All right, so Nathanael, can any good thing come out of Nazareth? So Nazareth is despised. It's not in the prime area where the Torah is being taught, and this goes back to Isaiah 53. People think that Nazareth comes from the root netzer, branch, and you know that story? Okay, you can say it.
Stop them there, Tish, you still have to teach.
Okay. So Isaiah says it's not from Netzer. Okay, Noatzri is not from Netzer. Different root. But the scripture says in Isaiah 53, he will be despised and rejected of Ishim. Now, Ishim is not used that much of men. The normal word is Anashim. But because he's despised by Ishim, that means men of notable report. The uppity ups, the leadership guys. So he's despised and rejected of men. Here, Nathanael's reflecting that. Nazareth, I wouldn't trust anything that comes out of Nazareth. Not a scholar, not a masonry guy, certainly not a messianic figure, a purported messianic figure. So the despised and rejected of men was because he was from Nazareth. If he was from Jerusalem, oh well, Jerusalem, Hebron, Safat, one of the holy cities, that would be something. But Nazareth, yeah. So can any good thing really, is that where the Messiah is supposed to come? Right? So basically, Yeshua sees Nathanael coming to him, and he said of him, behold, indeed, i.e. someone worthy of being called an Israelite, a true Israelite, one who is an Israelite in every way. Remember, Jacob's name, right, was changed to Yisrael.
Yeah.
Some translated from Sar, which means prince. He will be a prince with God. And others translated from Yashar, to go right. So Jacob went from going wrong to going right. Okay, he is a true Israelite going in the right direction with the right motives. Okay,
That's a big teaching right there for me.
that's a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
In whom there is no deceit. He's not trying to impress anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, he doesn't stand in the highways and byways with his tzitzit and phylacteries. He doesn't hang his head low. He's not like the 6 out of 7 Pharisees that we see. Right? He's the righteous Pharisee, in whom there is no deceit. Nathanael said to him, how do you know me? I.e., we've never met. Yeshua answered and said to him, before Philip called you when you were under the fig tree. Now, mind you, being under the fig tree in rabbinic language is to be in Torah study. Okay? Yeah. All right? So I saw you studying the Torah.
Mm.
And now
actually a real fig tree.
Me too.
Well, the fig tree is also indicative of the Messianic kingdom. Remember that. We see it in many places in Micah and in Zechariah as a symbol for the Messianic. When the scripture says every man sat under his own fig tree, it doesn't mean literally a fig tree. It means that he's living at peace in the Messianic kingdom.
So when Jesus cursed that fig tree that didn't bear figs, did that have anything to do with
He's cursing the wrong way. The wrong way of studying the scriptures to come out with the wrong decision. Wrong filter. Okay. He's not cursing the Jewish people.
With the way.
The
they
way.
anointed.
Yeah. Okay?
But so that was the fig tree that didn't have any figs on it, but, okay.
Just
now-
all the
You
leaves.
get it?
Yes.
It had no figs.
Oh.
It had no fruit
No.
of the proper study.
And all this, I thought that was literal.
Rabbi, that gave me a lot of things when I heard you before saying that.
Yeah.
And I started thinking, I said, oh, dear Lord. You know, I said, even though we're studying, then he's actually seeing us.
Later on, we're going to discover we need illumination. We need revelation.
That's the last
When
one.
the fig tree comes to life.
What's that?
When the fig tree comes.
Yeah, same thing.
Same, so that's
When the fig tree blossoms.
That's so what does that represent more than just the Torah?
The right way.
The right way.
The right way produces the right fruit. Right? The right study. So here, now, what was he studying? All right. When you were under the fig tree, I saw you. Nathanael answered him, Rabbi. Rabbi, you are the Son of God. Now, how does a Jewish Pharisee scholar call him the Son of God? Because the favored king of Israel was always called the Son of God. This dated back to Ugaritic times, when the kings were the favorites of the gods. They were called the sons of God. And this is the ultimate Son of God. You are the Son of God. Notice, you are the King of Israel. Well, what tuned him in? What do you mean? You saw me studying the Torah, and that's it. Something happened to Nathanael that he said, if you saw me studying the Torah, you must also know what I was looking at, what I was contemplating. What's that?
It's omniscient, like Yeshua's.
Of course. Okay. Because I said to you, Yeshua answered and said, because I said to you that I saw you under the fig tree, do you believe? You will see greater things than this. And he said to them, now I want you to get this picture, and then you'll know what Nathanael was studying. Okay. He's an Israelite in whom there is no guile. There's no deceit. He's not a deceiver. Okay. You're going to see greater things than this. He said to him, truly, truly, I say unto you, you will see the heavens open and the angels of God ascending and descending on the Son of Man.
So he's Jacob's ladder.
Jacob's ladder.
Yeah.
That's what he was studying.
That's so cool.
Jacob's ladder.
Maybe he was studying that when he saw him.
Yes. And remember, Jacob, yeah.
So the image here is that of a ziggurat from Genesis, and the ziggurat was not a place to worship a god, but a place to pull a god down, where the temple was located on the side. And so he says here, you will see angels, the angels of God ascending and descending on the Son of Man, a messianic accolade, which he's saying, I've already descended. I'm already here. So that's kind of what he's pointing at, is the God has descended.
Okay, but remember, the angels are coming down, and the angels are going up. And God is up there looking down. Okay, so who is Yeshua?
He's the Son of Man. He's the connection. Yeshua's the connection between man and God. So
He's the ladder.
he's the ladder. Yeah, Yeshua's the ladder, that the connection between he's man and he's God.
He's the conduit between heaven and earth.
Yeah.
Right? You get to God through him.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
That was Jacob saw when he was in need. Right?
Yes.
And he got that.
But remember, Jacob was nothing but a deceiver.
He was on his way.
Yeah.
That's when he had.
And
that
he
dream.
got this vision. And now you get the understanding that I'm the ladder. And I'm giving this to you because you have no guile and you can receive it immediately. Right? You're not questioning me. You're not trying to get anywhere. You just can receive. Yeah.
So going back to the fig tree, when it comes to life, because they say that it has come to life because Israel's back in the land, but that's not it, right? It's when they come to life spiritually.
Yes,
Right.
yes, that's exactly right. And Joel, among other books, shows that. Joel predicts us coming back into the land, and then there's a spiritual renewal. Ezekiel, we come back into the land, and then there's the spiritual renewal. We get skin, we get bones, we get everything's put together. But these bones don't live until what? God breathes life.
Yes.
So spiritual restoration comes after physical resurrection. You see how many times Yeshua healed unbelievers. This is what believers have to get. Well, I can't pray for him. He's an unbeliever. She's an unbeliever. Are you crazy? That's what you need to pray for.
Exactly.
You know, they come to faith because they feel the power of God, and they want to go more. They want to spend a Sabbath night with Yeshua. To want to know more. Mike, you're looking pretty contemplative there. Something's going on in there. Do I want to know?
He said no.
I just keep seeing the escalator in Macy's, going up and down.
There you go. Whatever works for you. All right. Listen. Chapter 2, verse 1. And on the third day. And when you hear this kind of terminology, it's usually, not always, but usually the third day after the Sabbath. Okay. Or if it's the fourth day without any context, it's the fourth day after the Sabbath. Okay. So it's not the third day after an event. It's the calendar. Okay. So third day is Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Okay. So now there is a wedding. And on the third day, there was a wedding in Cana of Galilee, and the mother of Yeshua was there. So she was there. She was not simply invited. She was part of the entourage. This was a family wedding. Mary is the aunt of the bridegroom. John, the son of Zebedee, right? And so this is a family wedding. She's already there helping out with the wedding, being a good little family member, right? So she's there, and Yeshua, who was invited, and his disciples to the wedding, and when the wine gave out, the mother of Yeshua said to him, "They have no wine." Now let me explain something. There is a term called the shosh benin. It's spelled exactly how it sounds. Shosh benin, right? And there's two of them. And there's a shosh benin for the bride, and there's a shosh benin for the bridegroom. And so what happens is the shosh benin for the bridegroom takes care of his needs. He doesn't have to be the best man. He can be. He can be. But he's kind of the guy designated, somebody that can be trusted, right? That's a family, usually a family member or somebody close in friendship that provides for whatever the bridegroom needs. He has a tear in his sleeve. The shosh benin goes out that he gets somebody to sew it up. Something happens to the bouquet and or the flowers. Somebody stepped on the flowers. The shosh benin for the bride goes out and they take care of business. Okay, the wine is depleted, and all of a sudden the shosh benin is responsible for making sure that wine gets on the table in one way or another, whether he or has to go out himself, or she has to go out herself, or designate somebody, go to the marketplace, let's get this thing going, or they basically ensure there's enough of everything. So get that, keep that in mind, okay? There's
So this was her job.
shosh benin, they're both the same.
So this was her job, one of her responsibilities, not just, oh, by the way.
It is likely that she was the bride's shosh benin.
Okay. It's like a wedding planner, kind of, you know?
Didn't
Like
plan
the
the wedding, but
organizer.
yeah, making sure it goes smoothly. Okay, but that, it may be planning too, because it was also before the wedding. All right. So now there was somebody already designated. His mother
Yeah.
is probably the shosh benin for the bride. Okay, and there's somebody designated as the Shoshbanim for the bridegroom. Okay, now these, the second and the fifth days, the Sanhedrin would sit. So you didn't have weddings on the second and the fifth days, and you didn't have weddings on the Sabbath. So you could have it on the first day, the third day, the fourth day, right? But not the second and the fifth. And here it says the third day. That's a valid day.
You said
Okay.
it was someone's wedding on this,
Yeah, there was a wedding on the third day.
but you said the name of the person because it doesn't say that.
No, I'm telling you, I'm giving you the background because this is not an understandable story without that.
Oh, okay. I thought you said it was like James' wedding or something like that.
No, this was John, the son of Zebedee.
John.
Yeah.
It doesn't say that though.
Well, this is all from tradition.
Oh,
Okay, this is from second century tradition.
oh, okay.
But the Shoshbanim is first century.
Okay.
All right. So it looks like it's a family wedding. Everything fits together so that Mary is there already. She's not invited. It doesn't say she's invited. But Yeshua was invited and his disciples, which means none of them are the Shoshbanim. And the Shoshbanim, if you're not a Shoshbanim, you are not responsible to help out.
Right.
Okay? So Yeshua's mother comes to Yeshua and she says, because she's the Shoshbanim for the bride, Shoshbanim for the bridegroom doesn't seem to be doing anything. So the mother, Shoshbanim,
Typical guy thing.
comes to Yeshua, her son, they have no wine. And Yeshua said to her, woman, this is not disrespectful, by the way. There is nothing in the Greek structure here. It's perfectly okay, right? This is a respectful term, right? Woman, i.e. woman, I know you're the woman who's the Shoshbanim. He doesn't say mother. He says woman.
So he's addressing her as her title for that
That's
wedding.
Exactly. You're the Shoshbanim. I understand, Mom. Okay? Woman, Yeshua said to her, woman, what do I have to do with you as the Shoshbanim? My hour has not yet come. And everybody thinks the hour of his ministry has not come.
It's his miracles, right?
No, but that's not what he means.
No?
I'm not the Shoshbanim.
That's what he's saying.
Is that what he meant? But it
Yeah.
doesn't make sense because if he was invited, then
Yeah,
I don't know.
I'm-
I don't know. Not feeling that.
I'm invited.
I'm not here to work.
Put me to work.
It's not my.
They told us it meant that he's trying to separate himself from his
Oh.
mother.
It's impossible.
But when you get teachings that are not like in a Jewish
Okay.
context. that's just-
Anyway, if you believe opposite
Yeah,
of what it's fine and dandy, you're just wrong. That's all.
He's trying to say, I'm not your son anymore. I'm like.
No. This is nonsense. No.
Wow.
To unlearn all the
You-
Gentile
you get-
teachings.
This is not the way Jewish weddings of the first century go. Okay, he's not going to be disrespectful to his mother at a wedding. Clearly, she's there. She's not invited. She's just there. Already. Yeah.
So in my word, it says, why did you involve me? Like, he wasn't
Yeah, that's fine.
responsible.
My hour has not come. In other words, I have not been invited to be the Shoshbanim.
I always thought it's my hour as in like before he was gonna die.
Yeah.
Because he says my hour hasn't come, my hour hasn't come throughout this.
Obviously, this is a play on events. When down the road, I'm going to show you part of the genius of John.
Wow.
And this is part of the genius of John, is these double meanings. Okay? There is a double meaning here, yeah. But what he's saying, yeah,
That's what you just said, that's what I was gonna ask, that he does have a double meaning.
sure.
When he says like, my hour has not come, like, don't get me in trouble yet, I'm not yet there.
Or you're pushing me ahead of schedule.
Yeah, he was on a divine schedule.
But what the context though is I'm not the Shoshbanim. I have not been designated. My hour has not come. Right? So why are you asking me? Ask the Shoshbanim who's doing nothing. Get on his case. So this is what she says. Now look at the authority she has. Now, you know, not anyone can say this. The mother said to the servants, like, what authority does she have if she's merely an invited guest? She's the Shoshbani. Whatever he says, you do it.
Doesn't ask anymore.
What's that?
He doesn't ask him anymore. He just commands him.
That's the
No.
That's the mother.
First of all,
She's assuming a lot, isn't she?
she is. She's assuming that her son will respect her position and help her.
Yes.
So he actually submits to her desire.
As a good son should.
Yeah. Okay. Very respectful and very proper. Now there were 6 water pots. Now these are the same stone water jars as were in the temple for purifications. Right. 6 is one less than 7. But Yeshua is going to make something out of 6. 6 is the number of man.
6
is the number of men. He's going to transform something. Right?
That which is inside.
So 6 water pots set there for the Jewish custom of purification. Everybody, before they came in, would wash their hands and their feet. Before the meal, there was a blessing for washing the hands and so forth. Containing 20 or 30 gallons each. Yeshua said to them, fill the water pots with water. And they filled them up to the brim. And he said to them, draw some out now and take it to the head waiter. Now, the head waiter was the guy that made sure that the servers were doing correctly, that the food kept coming. It was family style, so the food kept coming on the table. Everybody ate with their hands, you know. And but the head waiter also has the kos habasora. Now, what is the cup? The kos habasora is the cup of good news, and the head waiter, after the wedding is consummated and the wife is proven to be a virgin, out comes the kos habasora and the wine is drunk. It's good news because she was a virgin. And now the wedding's been consummated. Everything in proper order. Okay? What's that? Well, it could be. It could be. But this is one of the head waiter's jobs. Okay? And there were songs sung and dancing, and they sang of the bride. The bride is here. She's splendid. She doesn't need makeup. She doesn't need stuff to luster her face. She doesn't need braided hair, plaited hair. She is beautiful just because she is who she is. She's beautiful in herself. And so they laud her as a queen. He's the king. She's the queen. Yeah.
So when they're figuring out if she's a virgin, is everybody out there still having a good time? And then the groom comes out or the headmaster says,
The examiner of the sheet announces all is in order, and out comes the cup of good news, and there it is. And that cup, the cup which is the wrath, right? The wrath of God, that cup will be turned into the kos basora when the marriage is consummated between the bridegroom and the bride, the lamb and the bride. Okay?
So no shofar blowing, it's just an announcement.
What's that?
I think she was expecting a shofar blast or something.
A shofar blast could happen. All right. So there's this 6 stones. Go ahead, fill the water pots with water, and they filled them with water. And he said to them, draw out now and take it to the head waiter. And they took it to him. And when the head waiter tasted the water, which had become wine, transformed, right, and did not know where it came from, but the servants who had drawn the water knew, the head waiter called the bridegroom. And he said to him, every man serves the good wine first. And when men have drunk freely, then that which is poorer you have kept the good wine until now. In other words, you're shush Benin has done a wonderful job. He kept the good stuff for later. Okay? Which also is a foreshadowing of what? The first shall be last and the last shall be first. It's said over in many, many ways, over and over and over. It means what it means in the context. Even he's not the Shosh Benin, but he honors his mom and her position as the Shosh Benin for the, okay? And so this signifies that transformation is going to be deeper than this, right? So this is the beginning of Semyon, the signs which Yeshua did in Canaan of Galilee and manifested his glory, and his disciples believed in him. We're going to find that that's a little bit of a problem, right? Because believing in the signs is not necessarily in concert with being in relationship to him and submitting to what he's saying. They had a problem submitting to his death. They had a problem submitting that my kingdom is not of this world. Okay? They had a problem submitting to the fact that he wasn't going to oust the Romans. But this would be for a later series of events. Okay? But at least the signs were enough to say, this guy is not your usual guy. And they put their faith in him, basically. Right? So we'll follow him. Right? Good things happening here. After this, in verse 12, he went down to Capernaum. He and his mother and his brethren and his disciples, and there they stayed a few days. So his brothers, Yeshua, Mark 6:3 states that Yeshua had 4 brothers and some sisters. Big family. Normal for a Jewish family. Okay, very normal. And they appear in chapter 7 of Matthew, verse 5. They appear to be people who don't believe in him. You know, we saw him get diapered. You know, I don't know what. Yeah. they were young, right?
He would have been the oldest. So
yeah. No, I know, but you know, it's hyperbole. It's hyperbole. Right?
What did you mean by that cup?
The Kos Havasora?
In the future, like with the consummation of the
Well, the Kos Habasora is a cup that announces that the bride is a virgin, and there's great rejoicing in that. Okay.
So how does that relate to
that? The whole book of Revelation is a message: keep your virginity.
So that will be the fifth
Don't,
cup?
huh?
That will be the fifth cup?
Yeah, that the cup that is the cup of wrath for the world is the cup of good news for the believers. It's the vindication for the believers.
So is there parallelism between this is not my time and I will not drink this cup again?
Yeah, of course, this cup. What is it? The Passover cup.
So the Passover cup becomes
the good news cup.
Or you stay true.
Yeah. You stay in the covenant. Don't go wandering off after other gods, other things that take my place.
Wow.
Stay a virgin. Okay? And then we'll have a great banquet and it'll be a great announcement. Okay? So you have all the, that's why symbols are very, very important. And so when the church gave up most of its symbols, they lost the attachment to historical events and allegorical events and meaning. Okay, so that's one of the functions of the Messianic movement, is to bring back the symbols and say, church, here they are. Let's get them back. Okay, the one symbol we can't use, unfortunately, is the cross. And I say unfortunate because it's a powerful symbol of death and resurrection. But we can't use it because it's been such a terrible symbol of the destruction of the Jewish people. That's all they see. Yeah, it's a shame, really. It really is a shame. All right, so
I think we see it as a symbol of a worship idol, you know, that
it can be.
A lot of people, they just hold, let me, it's like a good luck charm, and God doesn't want good luck.
It can be instead of,
He wants
sure.
him to be our good luck charm.
I get it.
I watched that movie Ben-Hur, that and when Yeshua's in there, they make him look like such a victim, and like John MacArthur was talking about that, like so much so they make Yeshua look like this victim versus like, you know, he's
Dragging
going
the
to
cross.
going to the cross, knowing, you know, he's going to get the victory, and but they paint a different picture.
Yeah.
And, you know, that was in the 50s,
Yeah.
I'm sure. That,
Well, Charlton came out clean, so
It was good, I thought it was good, of course they can't have
Yeah.
anyone.
You know, the writer of Ben-Hur set out to write a novel to disprove Yeshua.
Really?
That was his purpose.
Oh, wow.
But in writing this book, he actually became a believer.
Oh,
Wow.
The evidence was so overwhelming that he just. Verse 13. And the Passover of the Judeans was at hand, and Yeshua went to Jerusalem, and he found in the temple those. Now, in the Torah, we read that you're not allowed to have these kinds of people. I had it marked here. Somewhere I have it. Nuts. Okay. Leviticus. Yeah. Leviticus 5:7, Leviticus 5:15. All right. That they have these tubs, these vessels out there to put money in, to buy sacrifices, to give donations, and so forth and so on. But the money lenders, were people who were unscrupulous. They changed foreign currency, and so they charged a little bit too much, to the foreigners, and so the Jews got a bad reputation. Look, they charged me X. Back in Persia, I could have gotten this for 25% less.
And lives to this day.
Well, okay. Okay. So he saw them in the temple, those who were selling oxen, sheep, and doves, and the money changers seated like they were big shots. Okay. This is not the only place. There are actually 3 cleansings that parallel basically his 3.5 years of ministry. 3 cleansings of the temple. Right, that are recorded. And we could go into the different declarations and how they're different, but I don't think I want to do that.
Rabbi, I wanted to mention to the group that in some scriptures, 13 says Passover of the Jews, which is incorrect. It's actually, like you said, it's the Passover of the Judeans.
Mine says in Judah.
Judeans, because like I'm reading it, the ESV has Jews, but I have a little low because I knew
Judeans. I mean, we already did this back in the
Judeans.
in chapter 1. That Jews means Judeans.
Why not the Passover of the,
Of the
Israel people, but why does it say Passover of the Judeans?
Of the Judeans, because they ran the rules, and so they allowed the Judean hierarchy allows these money changers in the temple.
Wow.
So it's not the Passover of the Lord, it's the Passover of the Judeans. Okay?
So
I mean, these
This one just says, this just says Pesach in Yehuda.
In Yehuda?
Mhm.
Okay. That would have to have the little particle N in Greek. So I'll look that up, but
So you have Judea and Israel.
Judea, Samaria,
Samaria,
Galilee,
Galilee.
yeah.
So this is all Judea, not, or.
It would be silly to
But
see,
encompassing the religion as Passover.
it would be silly to say in Judea because everybody knows that these festivals are in Jerusalem. So for me, it can't mean in Judea. It has to mean the Judean way of observing Passover. Okay, Bikurim for the Judean hierarchy was observed in different ways. The Sadducees observed it the first day after the Sabbath during the week, and the Pharisees observed it after the day of Passover. Right. So I suspect that here we have the Sadducean way because the Sadducees basically were in charge through the high priesthood. But later, when the Pharisees and then their offspring, the rabbis, were in charge, they switched it to the first day, which would be a Sunday, after the Sabbath, during the festival of Passover, right? So
what I'm saying, though, this is the people that lived there that ran the show, as opposed to encompassing the religion of.
well, they
Jewish sort.
basically ran the Jewish religion, okay, throughout Israel.
But I'm saying this phrase is isolating it to this.
No, that's what I'm
Or-
saying.
or
That's
is it
not, it's not geographic. It's not meant to be geographic. It's meant to say this was the Judean Passover run by their rules, and look what they allow.
Right, but I think I'm with Larry on this one. It's kind of like the same logic, but it's not the it's not the Passover of the Lord, because we know that the Lord doesn't
Required.
requires it, but we can't say the Passover of the Jews, because not all Jew or true practicing Jew would not have accepted these guidelines.
Yeah,
because it's
yeah.
incorrect.
I got you.
So that's
Okay.
why he's getting.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
And I agree with him.
Yes.
Okay, so if you two agree,
Look at
that's a
Brooklyn.
miracle. And I'm
Really?
gonna,
I
I'm
thought
gonna
it
get
was
you.
I thought he said it. See?
No,
All
we
right,
did
just
Monday.
down.
We had a long weekend trip.
The Lord is coming.
We good. We good.
All right.
We good.
Okay.
We love you. We bring you.
So, and he made a scourge of cords, 15, verse 15. Those that think that because of Yeshua we should be pacifists have got to read this. And he made a scourge of cords, and he drove them all out of the temple with the sheep and the oxen, and he poured out the coins of the money changers and overturned their tables. And do you notice? Temple guards who would be on site did not stop him. Nobody stopped him. There must have been a presence there. Anybody that would do this would be arrested immediately.
Yeah, you think so, but I just think practically, I mean, if you move the people that sell doves out and you move the people that sell oxes out, how does the temple work?
Move them out of the temple area.
Right.
Oh, it's
Into
just
the
street.
It's just
Yeah.
a vicinity thing?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That-
outside the gate.
The temple is not, no place in the temple is for
Why
that.
would they move them in? Would they just, is it just like a position?
You
thing?
can
Want to
fit
be
more
close to
people.
the street? I mean, close to like Wall Street or whatever. like-
Yeah, you could fit more people. The lines could be bigger and thicker.
Okay, so it's just a proximity thing. It's not he's not saying like it's about the
It's an
doves and the-
attitude. It's an attitude that I can move into the temple and do business. It's a preclusion of the sanctity of the temple and the priesthood and what God had that for.
Right, for holiness, they were moving it
Yeah,
into
it's
something.
a
more
mentality, a lack of holiness.
Of
Yeah.
money gain.
Disrespectful.
Yeah.
So it's like a disrespect
Yeah.
to the temple and a holidays coming Passover and they're still conducting this business that is.
And it had become standard practice that the Judeans accepted this.
They were sanitized to it because in our teachings not too long ago, Leviticus, that Rabbi Derek was teaching. During those time, people would have died because they were doing things that were not in accordance with God's will. And God, like, started with Aaron's kids. But, people would die when they did things incorrectly.
Right.
But at this point in the world, it has become so desensitized to these violations that
Like
No one
carrying
was
the
pointing
ark
out.
incorrectly and that guy died?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, perfect,
Yeah.
perfect example.
But also, isn't it true that every time you move further into the temple, it's like you're moving further towards the Holy of Holies? So
Yeah, well,
it's
that's
like
true.
stations.
Yeah.
So there, when there's a violation of that, you've not taken the temple and, God's presence seriously.
I hadn't caught on to that. That's a good point.
No, yeah.
Verse 17, his disciples remember that is written, the zeal for your house, it will consume me. How did they know that? Because every little boy starts off memorizing the Psalms. At 5 years old, you're memorizing the Psalms. It's part of the training. Then the Judeans responded to him, what sign can you show us to prove your authority to do all this? Now, this clearly shows it's the Judeans. All of the Jews probably were saying, all right, it's about time to get these crooks. Okay, somebody at least is taking a stand. But it's the Judeans that are saying, what's your authority for messing around with our business here? Okay. Yeshua answered them, destroy this temple. Now, this is in the imperative, okay, towards the Judeans. You Judeans destroy this temple, right? And in 3 days, I will raise it up. He's saying this specifically
Right,
to the
them.
same leadership that
To
will
them.
do it.
Do it back to
Yes,
him.
that will
Yeah.
condemn
Okay.
him to death.
All right.
They're the ones who
So
crucify him.
this temple, by the way, is the Hieron, as opposed to Naos. Naos is the Holy of Holies. The Hieron is the temple grounds general. Okay, but again, you have the double meaning, right? Okay.
Yeah, he's not really talking about the brick and mortar temple.
No, no, he's not, right? So the Judeans therefore answered and said, and I'm going to ask you, how would they have known, or how should they have known that he meant his body? By the ongoing
Well, a lot
discussion.
of, the Tanakh it says it, right?
Well, you have to prove that.
Yeah, prove it.
Oh, that's our homework? Okay.
Okay, for next time. A final comment or question about today? I want you to prove that there would be a way of knowing what Yeshua was saying was about him. I mean, normally, we're talking about the temple. We're talking about the merchants of the temple, kicking the merchants out of the temple. How should they have known there's a greater issue here? Right? And by desecrating the temple, they would also desecrate the true temple. Right? By desecrating the hieros, the general temple, they would also eventually desecrate the naos, the Holy of Holies. Okay? So you look at Daniel 9, and you look at Isaiah 53, just two portions, and you come up with an answer. Okay?
Are you talking from the disciples' perspective or from the?
From the Judeans' perspective.
The ones he's addressing, those
Yeah.
people.
So, and think about what the Sadducees believed in terms of the Messiah in the Messianic age. It won't be hard to look that up. And think about what the Pharisees thought about the Messiah. And next week, I'm going to show you from intertestamental books three distinct views of the Messiah, right? And then we'll mix that in with what you, from Psalms of Solomon, from Ben Ezra, Ben Sirach, and the other one, which I always forget. Anyway, there are three different intertestamental books, and that will help us to understand this whole dilemma. Right? Thank you for joining us, and remember, we meet at the Mission for the Military on the 20th of May. We are going to be meeting on Saturdays at Crossroads Church on Surrey Road, near Hampton Boulevard, and so come there at 9:30 and 10:30 for services, and we'll be posting all of that and giving you more information. But we are shifting facilities, and it's an exciting time. Our oneg is going to be much larger and be in a separate place other than the sanctuary, so that'll be great fellowship time. All right, if you want to mail anything to us, it's 131 Forsyth Street, Norfolk, Virginia 23505. All right. God, thank you for your word, Lord God, enrich us. And Lord, give us a revelation in our study, oh God, that will be the revelation of the author, oh God. That'll be the inspiration of the author. And Lord, thrill us with your insight into what is actually going on here. We bless you in Yeshua's name. Shalom, everybody.
So if he's also